Hello, everybody. Let me fix some of this lighting up in here. Ah, so bright, so bright. Welcome to a Big Crafter. Thought I'd make an episode for first of the year. Let me also get Instagram going and talk about just anything that's been going through my mind. And we all know how people do their New Year's resolutions. Every year, I make the resolution to not have resolutions. It works for me. The only thing I do stick to as far as goals, dreams, expectations, to have a good sense of accomplishment in life. I finally finished this scarf. I don't remember how many years I have been working on this, but it's done. All 20,000 feet of it. And microscopic crochet. It was like a size F hook with cobweb thin yarn, which is the same as saying one ply. And one ply is a little bit thicker than basically sewing thread. Uh, it's just so soft. This is kid mohair. It's wonderful. It's a little bit warm. I'm just so glad that it is done. Dun 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 dun. Huge sense of accomplishment there. Also, on things I finished this year that I just couldn't bear to look at anymore, as far as projects go, the big one, the big circle behind my head. I know I've pointed it out many times, but that was one of the bucket list ones where I had to finish it. I just couldn't bear to look at it in my hands anymore. Just hoping everything is still working. I wish I get a person in here to comment so I know that they can actually hear me. Because I did a video not that long ago just to find out the sound didn't work. I'm not trying to do that. I'm also working like heck to make sure that I do not start any more projects that are either poorly conceived and will not finish, or just a distraction from finishing the ones that I can finish. Now, I don't mind like two or three projects, but when you get past a handful, that's a problem. That's a big problem. That's a ADHD, you know better problem. So the next one, because I still have two more cakes, and yes, I said cakes. I'm still working on this. This is at least a year old. It might be 2 years old, but this is going to be massive. So this has been consistently worked on. I cannot yell at myself for having gone necessarily faster because I was finishing things that were way older. But this one, yep, this is almost two full cakes of yarn. And it's not thick yarn either. It's, what do they call this? Maybe like a 30 weight for thread? Because thread does have different weights. And it's one of the medium thicker ones. It's not full on washcloth cotton. It's a little bit thinner, but it's definitely not the thinnest. It's close, but no. I think they'd call that a 6-ply thread, where if you took the thinnest of the thinnest sewing threads and added 6 of them together, you get this. But it makes such lovely crochet with an F hook if anyone ever is interested. And I still have that Christmas hat I want to finish so that I can post and sell the graphic from it. It's a beautiful sunburst hat. The hat pattern is just basic, but oh, hey, Steel Sky, does the sound work? Someone should probably tell me. Versus the video I made the other day that I had to delete because I didn't know there was no sound. I keep using StreamYard, but this time I'm not using StreamYard, and I'm still getting used to basic YouTube because if I can find a more basic way of doing things, I think I'll make a lot more videos. So I do want to make the goal for myself to, if I'm going to make all this stuff, I should do a better job of documenting it or sharing it. Or I love making like design videos because here's what I really wanted to come on and talk about, which is all the needs for patterns in the crafting world when in reality, just hold it up to your body, make your own pattern. You don't always have to rely on other people to do stuff for you. A lot of the things that we make are not that difficult. I mean, yeah, my muscles, necessarily my hands, had to adjust to do something, the stitch this small, but that's not a pattern thing. That's just a me with me thing. Or someone said, "Oh, you have a great headband." It's just basic stretchy 5 stitch chain repeat, and I did it with some sparkly yarn, and then the back is just connected with a hair tie. Basically, it's just a really long rectangle that I did from the short end and made it long instead of long to short. So many people are just so busy looking for patterns, patterns, patterns. Like, you do know that the thing that you wanted to buy was just like a rectangle, right? Or adjusting it for your size. It's like, I know my shoulders are double wide, and I usually have to double everything that I see, but I can do math. It's called times two. It's not unreasonable. Or one of the reasons I did the Christmas shawl pattern wasn't really shawl, the capelet. Shawls are nice, but they don't hang the right way, or they don't hang the same. And so many people are hooked on the triangle shape, and no one's figured out that if you make it extra wide, that it sits better. And there's a simple way of doing that. There's only one way to really necessarily do it. It's not hard or difficult. And they think they need a pattern for it to make it more what they call the bat wing instead of just a really big triangle. Because no offense to the triangle, that one sits the worst on the human body. It just does. If you want bat wing on the corners, because you already have your increase down the middle, which makes it pointy, and then on your edges to get the bat part, you just increase twice at the beginning and end of every single row. Versus the triangle, which is when you only do one increase at the beginning and end of every row. That's it. Instead of it just being a nice triangle, it's a little bit more out in the spread. That's it. And then after that, you just pick a stitch you like and you make it fit. And half the time, especially when I go to an in group, there's either a problem with the pattern or they're not comfortable with fudging it. Like, what if there was a typo? Could you fudge it? My middle name should be Fudget. Or like, even like, so this is just a plain rectangle, a very long rectangle. Does it look like something else? Yes. The only reason it looks like that is because I made it double wide, but it's still one heck of a long rectangle. And that's why it sits so nice, because I know that I have double wide shoulders, so I made it for double wide shoulders. Hence, rectangle. Or just, even explaining socks, because there was a lady, she's a wonderful knitter. She makes very great blankets mostly, but she was curious about socks. And having to explain to her, especially with toe up, which I think is slightly superior, but that's a conversation for another day. How you go from your starter row, you make a tube, which is what it is. You go to where you make your gusset for your heel, which starts out like a triangle on the edge of your circle and then goes into a flap and then reconnecting it and then going up. Or explaining the science behind afterthought heels. It's how you can mix basically a triangle that makes your pucker for your heel and reconnecting it so that it all stays the same and you just go back to your circle and just going on and on. It's not that difficult. It's just shapes. As long as they're perfectly made shapes, you're fine. I beg you. You're fine. Or even just making a flat circle. Doesn't matter what the pattern is, how to make a flat circle. As long as you have an increase, like your first row, you double everything. Your second row, you double everything. Your third row, you increase every 3 stitches. Fourth row, you increase every fourth stitch. Fifth row, you either increase every fourth or fifth stitch depending on your gauge. Because the thickness of the yarn will dictate how much of a spread you need. And eventually, when you get up to every increase every 6 or 7 stitch, that's for the rest of the project. That's all it is. Just do it forever, you're fine. And then if you mix that theory into whatever pattern you got, you're fine. It's kind of like with steeking. Now, normally I think steeking is just a lazy person's endeavor. Unless you can felt the yarn, I agree with felting the yarn and cutting your stitches. But if you can't felt it, that whole binding stitch is lazy construction, in my opinion. But where was I going with this? Sometimes it can serve purposes if it's truly has a point to it. Where are we going with this? Still there, Steel Sky? I think you're the only one still checking out Instagram. So, do you have any questions about design? Because a lot of it's really simple. As long as the shape fits whatever you're going for, it's fine. It can be altered, adjusted, reshaped, glued. Or heck, reknit for a better design. Recrocheted for a better stretch. It's not often that it's so technical. Like the first thing I ever made for real money for anybody, it was like half a poncho with a hoodie. Yeah. My goal is to finish more stuff and to make more videos. And I mean, yes, I will make more patterns. I'll stick in Etsy for instant download. But that's just, it's almost like building on simpler concepts, or people always say, oh, things are not size inclusive. Learn to measure. Everything's size inclusive. I'm proof of it. I am not shaped like most of the people out there, especially not when the whole AI, Temu, whatever starts making patterns. They will never make anything that fits me. That's why if I look at a picture, I reimagine it to see if it'll fit me, or if I can. What changes do I have to make to change it? Whether it's the size of my boobs, my shoulders, or how many extra balls of yarn I'm going to need because They didn't get it right. They never get it right. I mean, what's the point of making wrong if I no, I only do right by me. Or half the stuff I make, like seriously, even with this thing, I crocheted it until it was big enough. Then I added 4 inches. And I'm just making this giant tube with gradual increases so that it still goes over my hips. And once it gets to a point where it's the right kind of loose and frilly and that twirly skirt kind of feel to it, that's when I'm going to stop increasing. So that if anyone has to line it, it won't be difficult. I do believe I want to have this one lined. It won't just be straight cotton. It won't be like a bathing suit cover where you see way too much. 'Cause I hate wearing clothes underneath my clothes because of whatever. So if it at least has a cotton liner on it, I can wear it just by itself like a dress. And long term, even though I will stick with a more capelet or bat wing style shawl type designs, I do want to focus more on summer. Like I live in Texas. We have like 11 months of summer here. Why shouldn't I design more for whether I actually live in versus I do understand that with the history of knitting and crochet, it's more in colder climates. And that the warmer climates usually made more laces, or like border laces, or just smaller stuff that wasn't whole garment. Or a lot of people don't always use cotton to make sweaters or some of the funkier weaving yarns, which I think rock. Because just because it's bumpy doesn't mean it can't be made into a sweater. Or just how much freer we are in today's society to make odd shaped items, or how often we use lacing instead of seams. Like a lot of the all those what do they call them, festival tops that I've made, they all have corseting, like shoelace edges to them. So no matter who's wearing them, it can be adjusted to fit them. As long as it's in like a medium to large ballpark, it can fit a lot of people. So to say that things aren't versatile enough, I beg to differ. Designing like I had that one shirt. It's a little bit puffier than I want it to be. I might redo another one. But basically, you only have 4 seams because you have the strap for the two boob sections, two in the back because it's mirrored. The front and the back are the same. So then you only have 4 seams as they come down. All of those seams are like shoelaced together. And when you shoelace it together, you don't see anything that you don't want to see. It's quite modest. To where at that point, the only bit of thing you got to keep an eye on is how you tie the top and how it hangs. That's a you decision thing versus, there's nothing indecent that you don't plan on. Go and put it that way. Or nothing like, even though this is a summer top and whatnot, it doesn't have to be this high. You can make a lot more open spaces wherever you want them, depending on how you do or do not make seams. You could sew it together or just leave holes on the sides and lace it up. I mean, it'll wear over time much better than all those jeans that they put holes in. And I still hate, I'm not against holes in jeans, but some of them, When you look more ripped up than a homeless person from the 1920s, there's a problem. Or when the 1920s homeless person looks better dressed than you, there's a problem. Or just because fashion is so, it can be very, very hippie. I'll admit to that. But hippie can be done with a little bit of class. Just a little bit. That's how we get boho chic. Anyone else here today who wants to say something? I know that I can talk the ears off of a stone statue, but that doesn't mean um, that I'm not paying attention or can be redirected, or I like to believe that I'm responsive. I like to believe it. I'm still not sure that I won't redo this pattern, or write down at least, to where if you just crochet a band, clearly this was color changing yarn, and then you do a lace up. I thought it was a cute little accent. And then you just make a square out of it. And again, you leave the edges with the holes to run your thread through, or have a bobble. Bobble is when it has that button that clamps down on it. I'm still debating if I'm going to do it with this one yet, but it's either you have a nice, what do they call it, snood for your hair, because I usually wrap my hair up in this, or have just a really funky beret style almost hat. I haven't done the pattern for it yet, but because the yarn was so thin, and yes, it was the exact same yarn I also made that Cape Lead in, it was really good for beading. So if you like being multi-talented, and yes, it was more diagonal, just like this has diagonal. I need to expand my creative juices. But odds are I'll redo that other top. Because, I mean, I like it flowy, but that was too much. That was way too much. Debating if I. This is the time of year we'll either get 1 week of cold and then it's spring. I'm making the boyfriend and I both. Are you making your boyfriend a denim sweater, or? Would you mind clarifying, Steel Sky? Yeah, anytime I've tried to offer to make my husband anything, he's too afraid that if he wears it at work, he'll ruin it. And that somehow, if he ruins it, we'll get divorced. Scarfy yarn? That's a good acrylic. I finally got some to see what the craze is all about. That's another thing I want to do, is to use up more yarn that's all around here. Because I got bags and bags and bags of it, and there were many, many sales, and I was in denial at how slow I make things. So as long as I can find all the cakes of stuff, I could have projects coming out my ears for years. And my husband thought I was kidding about, yeah, I can use my yarn if the world returns to barter. Like, we'll have plenty of socks. We have all the tools for it. Oh, mine's a little bit worse because I love recycling sweaters. And right now, I wouldn't say it's a craze, but unspun plain cotton yarn in cakes and getting that whole tweed thing going on is something. It's a little bit more popular than it's ever been before. And a lot of yarn at minimum, especially even Red Heart stuff, that's $10 a pound. But if you can buy a 4 pound sweater for $4, and all you gotta do is unravel it, do you know how much of a cost savings that it's like, can you find it cheap enough? Oh yes, I can. It's like you have no idea how cheap I can find it. Whether it's acrylic, cotton, anything. And in the South, they really don't like sweaters that much, so they're like new without tag. And all I have to do is rip it up. So I'm trying to only use what's in front of me while still designing and finishing stuff. And if it's over 5 years old, it's at the top of the pile. I think that one was 12 when I finished it. This one's only like a year or two. I think it's going on 2 years. So that's not bad. And it is now long enough to at least be a shirt, even though I'm aiming for dress. And I still have not made up my mind if it's going to be a pure tube top or if I'm going to have to make separate boobs for it. But it's not like I don't have two more cakes of yarn. I mean, for something that big, and two of them, how wide is this? It's a little less than 3 feet. It's a little bit less than 3 feet. Two full cakes. Explains how wide it is, though, now, doesn't it? Knitting machine. I have two of them because I finally, over the summer, I found the Addy one for like 50% off. So it was finally in budget. So it's like, I want to see what the difference is. Other than longevity and not missing as many stitches from abuse, that's the only difference. I mean, it is somewhat true that you get what you pay for. Yeah. But at the same time, since as long as you don't abuse them, that's the only thing. If anyone wants to know between the Centra and the Addy, as long as they're not completely abused, they work just fine. But at the same time, I use the drill a lot more on the Centro. And I know that it was having a lot more issues with the all plastic insides, wheels, and gears that make it work. And they're not that much better on the Addy. I was at least hoping for some metal ball bearings, but it's not. So let's go back to dreaming about Earl Bacher sock making machines, which, if you get a normal package from them, can vary between $1,500 and $2,000 for a I want to say an 85 stitch sock machine. But they're made in America. They're all metal. They make a wonderful sock. So if you ever have stuff that you want to have knitted up into tubes and then add an after heel to the tube, you can have per se semi handmade socks. Yeah, I did have the electric screwdriver, but I burnt it out. So that's when I upgraded to drill. There's a little bit more firepower than the screwdriver to it, and I do have to remind myself to not let it get too fast because it really will start dropping stitches like crazy because of how fast it can go. I'm trying not to completely strip out all the plastic parts. But yeah, I liked my little electric screwdriver. It was one my mother gave me for Christmas one year. But yeah, I just burnt it out. I find from dealing with those types of tools my entire life, I know I don't look like the type who would use a drill for anything, but we helped our parents build the inside of their barn. That type of I'm good with electric tools, but anything that has a large rechargeable battery works a little bit better than just if you have to recharge directly the drill, they don't last as long as the ones that have the separate battery. At least as far as using them on your knitting machines. Madam Beatrice Moon, welcome. Yes, talking about finishing projects so that there's less baggage to bring with us into 2025. And you just totally using down our own stashes so that that's just more baggage yet again we don't have to carry forward into the future. Or at least if we do carry it forward, it's something useful instead of just a pile of yarn. Or designing more intelligently. And I still say there's always better ways to make stuff. I live in Texas. I'm over in Fort Worth. Now I know people around here think, oh, we're going through a cold snap. To you, it is cold. Jewelry, okay, nice. I dabble with jewelry. San Antonio. They had a really good fireworks display I saw on Instagram from San Antonio. Someone was going down the highway and the full spectrum of all the town around it was nonstop. The really good fireworks, the ones that go really high and then burst. They had a good selection. Yeah, I drove on New Year's for all around Fort Worth because I also do rideshare. And there was a lot of small stuff, a lot of backyard stuff, or even people setting them off in the streets. Because I guess they didn't want to be near grass or something. But just everywhere, you'd be driving along and it wouldn't be the full big boom, 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 but it'd be like the half version of that. Just be going through suburbia and then two or three, be gone. Drive a little farther, be two or three, and be gone. Now, if there's anything bigger than that, I must have been in the wrong part of town because the system that night thought that I should be in a very rural area that had problems paying their electric bill because there was almost no street lamps anywhere. And I don't mind needing my high beams to drive through an area, but it's not my favorite. And no, I also don't want to run over the raccoons or the baby cow that escaped the fence. Oh, I don't doubt it was loud enough to wake a sleeping person. My husband took the night off from work because he doesn't like a lot of boom boom stuff, and He stayed with the cats who also didn't like the boom boom stuff, so they all hid in the house together. It's like, glad you survived. But as soon as everything was over, I was getting paid between 20 and $40 a ride to drive people like a mile and a half down the road. It was that kind of money that night. So basically, I don't have to drive for another week if I don't want to, but I'll probably drive tomorrow and this weekend. But just try to get my sleep back on track. Because I figured if I'm going to be feeling kind of, I might as well be making videos and talking to y'all. Because just because I don't want to be stuck in a rattling vehicle does not mean I can't do other stuff. Nice, nice. Knitting's always good. Oh, that's another thing that's been going on. I mean, yes, I know that people want instant gratification with chunky projects. So the chunkier something is, the faster you finish the project. But it just makes me think, like, why don't you just get a knitting machine? Oh, I have many ways of putting people to sleep, not just talking. But yeah, the chunky stuff, it's like, why bother? Just get a knitting machine. It's easier. At least be a gauge that, you know, unless it's a chunky pillow pattern or something, I just don't get it for clothing. It's not my thing. But if you ever need help going to sleep, I do have some vodka mix. Like for 8 weeks, I soaked whole chamomile flower, like the flowers, the tea, like the real original loose leaf stuff. You get a whole jar of that, and then you soak it for 8 weeks in a mason jar with vodka. And that stuff will knock you out. Yeah, I kind of get that. I have lymphedema, and if I don't get enough magnesium, this is beyond restless leg syndrome. I mean, yeah, I have it, and magnesium kind of gets rid of it, but it's kind of like the body shakes. It's like I have to stretch every single one of my muscles out. If not, I can't stop like convulsing. And that has to do with a circulation issue too. But yes. Well, a daily portion on most bottles of magnesium glycinate, and yes, it has to be glycinate, is 4 capsules. So like 2 in the morning, 2 at night. That seems to help regulate it. And then you back it up with potassium. And then to make sure that there's enough flow and transference through your ligaments, because that's where a lot of the water flows through, fish oil. Fish oil helps a lot. Even if the bottle says only take one per serving, take two. It's just fat. Your body will love it. It will lube up the things that need to be lubed. They're hurting because they're not flexible. So fish oil is your best friend. And it has all those great amino acids that supposedly we don't have, and it'll stop you possibly from buying salmon. Because salmon is just astronomically priced right now. Because I can only eat sockeye. I can tell when there's a fake salmon. It's like I have to get the fresh stuff. I can't do this whole farmed, doesn't have all the nutrients it's supposed to fish. Just can't do it. What else puts me to sleep? Oh, vitamin D also puts you to sleep. Yeah. Make sure you get it with the K2 if you can, because that also has to do with calcium and fighting osteoporosis. But yeah. Oh, also, if you're new to vitamin D, make sure that you take enough magnesium, like have it be built up in your body. Because if you don't, you can give yourself headaches, like really severe headaches, if you don't have enough magnesium to help digest the vitamin D. Yeah. The more I fix my minerals and vitamins, the healthier I seem to get. And it's not because a doctor was helpful with any of that. And it really is self experimentation. Like before I had enough magnesium in my body, vitamin D would give me a migraine. I'm not talking a simple headache. I'm talking like stuck in bed in the dark. No, mine I can't because not only was I in the dark, but my eyes would close on me if I was near any kind of light, cell phone light, anything. My eyes would forcibly close. So basically, I'd have to sleep through my migraines. Because plus, pain relief just does not work. I'd lose 20 hours of my day. It's like, I can't live like that. So I'd be very careful with vitamin D, but now that I've built up my magnesium, I'm okay with it. And I found out if it's not magnesium glycinate, I can't take it because it'll give me a headache on the other side of my head. The kind where I can't wake up. It's like, what the fuck? Um, Also, a lot of that has to do with there's a lot of lymph nodes in the back of your neck. If I don't drain those, that's when the headaches start. I've never gone as far as the emergency room. No. Hasn't gotten quite that bad. But when I was younger, I did a lot of vision therapy for my eyes. Those felt like you had a hatchet going through the middle. I'd have to hide in a cool, dark place, just hoping to God the pain would go away. Because my mother didn't believe in, like, she liked doctors, but if she didn't think it was bad enough, she was rather against actually getting the help you needed. But actually, since I couldn't take any kind of pain relief for mine, if you get a back vibrator and massage all the glands in the back of your head and physically drains them, the pressure goes away. And then the headache goes away. If you ever want to chemically drain or help to drain, it works. I call it Drano, but technically it's just Coca Cola. If you sip on Coca Cola and have it wash over it, look into it. It could just be pressure building up because it could be bottlenecking. It could be like the stuff's trying to go out, it gets stuck in there, it gets built up, and then it wants to like explode, kind of like a pipe. But if you just keep on massaging it and pushing it through, it's either the salt or the sugar. I can't figure out which one's doing it more. I'm leaning towards the salt that's in Coke because salt helps with other things. I do take pink salt occasionally, but I have to do it with a full meal because if not, it causes acid reflux. I'm a very acidic person. But yeah, one of the ways I help drain my head also is that I sleep with this long tube pillow that puts the arch back into my neck. It stretches out all those muscles. And so when I sleep like that with the arch, it drains everything all night long. So I don't have to have my daily hardcore massage. Uh, the only thing because I gave myself fatty liver with acid reflux. It was a fun experience. Um, Milk thistle still works. If you read the directions on the bottle, I think you can take like up to 6 capsules a day. And I'm told it also works on kidney as well. Your kidneys and your liver, milk thistle really helps to drain them and help regrow them and keep them healthy. And fish oil is also good for that. So just a good lubricant for everything that's moving around your body. Yeah, because like when I was in the hospital, I left the hospital with the doctor having no idea what was wrong with me other than my liver was completely enlarged. Of course, give me, a couple of hours on the internet, and I'm like, how do normal people who have this deal with it? And within 48 hours, I was cured because here's what I did. I found the milk thistle, which is for cleansing. Do you take your fish oil in capsules? Because I take the really big capsules. It's not straight oil because they're supposed to release next to your small intestine. So you shouldn't have to taste any of it. But I also found Sprouts has it, an 8 clove in one beeswax covered capsule. Because the garlic pill was covered in beeswax, it only released next to the small intestine and my liver. And garlic works as what do they call it? Like antibiotics. I could feel it exploding over the infection because my small intestine, because the acid reflux, was irritating my liver, and then my liver was the one causing me to be sick. So as soon as the garlic healed everything up and the dandelion thistle helped the regrowth and everything, I went back to the doctor who was still trying to figure out what was wrong with me. I didn't tell him anything. To this day, as far as they know, Jesus cured me. They have no clue. Yeah. And it's like they were trying to say that I was a liar, that, oh, you must sleep around. Nope. There's no STD that could prove I had what I had. It's like, oh, you must, drink a lot of alcohol. I'm too broke for that. No, I don't. And so it's like, we don't know what's wrong with you. Well, according to the Mayo Clinic, for the 20 top reasons, because I only looked at 2 reasons, there's more than 2 for why you can get a fatty liver. I was number 3 because I didn't drink, so it's not alcohol, wasn't an STD, and acid reflux. What do you know? I just wish he had come to a new conclusion in front of the same interns, because when a guy goes and announces to the world that you are sick because of an STD that you don't have, it's like I forced him to run the test again to prove I didn't have it. Oh, it also should also help in this story to also mention they mixed my medical records up with someone else with a similar name to mine, so they thought I had all of her diseases. I don't. So, no, I do not have my ABCs of STDs. No, for some reason they didn't do that with me. I mean, at the time, yeah, my job was very stressful because they were stupid about browbeating us to death. But no, I was drinking too much soda and drinking too much of grandma's sweet tea recipe, which I had a habit of not adding enough water to it. So it made it really, really concentrated, and using this one kind of British tea that I didn't know would irritate my liver so bad. But when you concentrate already, like British tea is twice as strong as American tea. No, they couldn't even blame it on my age. I mean, they try to say, "Oh, you're unhealthy." It's like, prove it. I grew up on the farm eating very like all my greens, organic meat, healthy starches, and everything was in proportion. And no, it's still me. I exercise twice as much as the average person. No, this still happened. So they can say whatever they want as long as I know the truth. As long as I get better results than they do, I'm good. It's because I offered myself up to be their guinea pig more than once, and their guesses were never good enough. They were never right. And I said, I basically got rid of my own migraines by switching a pillow I used, not drinking fluoride water anymore, increasing vitamin D and butter, because butter has a lot of that K2 vitamin in it that decalcifies your pineal gland. I never let it get as far as insurance goes. Like I said, I'd rather experiment on myself than have them play with it because their guesses are just not good enough. If I can troubleshoot my body like an inexperienced car mechanic, I will. I even went to a nutritionist to see if I was crazy, and I was still confusing her. Like, I know she gave me this probiotic once, and I forgot the directions, so I just ate the whole thing in one sitting, and it's supposed to be 3 different meals worth, and it didn't do crap. It's like, no, I'll go back to whatever. Like, I get better responses from what's that yogurt called? Jamie Lee Curtis did the commercials for it. But yeah, that probiotic yogurt from the store did more for me than the nutritionist did. I got told to take Benadryl, drink a Monster Energy drink. No, 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 no. Benadryl? No. No, no. Just stick in the dark, put a back vibrator on the back of your neck to loosen everything up, and the vibrations will, one, confuse your nerves so they can't connect. And if they can't connect, it'll work as a pain reliever. Two, the vibrations will put you to sleep. And when you wake up, you'll be a lot better. Now, the only thing I can guess for the monster is that caffeine is known to drain things out of your body. And the only thing you need to drain are, like I said, just all the fluids in those glands, because the left side, not the right side of your body, focus on the left side of your body. This is the highway for all of your hormones and your glands and your lymphatic system. Get that to drain out, push it out because it's like right under the first 10 layers of skin with all those little ducts and stuff. It's like a really bad sewer system that doesn't like to drain. It's all behind there. And I think it's also the most direct link to your pineal gland, which makes all the hormones that you need for your thyroid. Oh yeah, I'd puke sometimes too. I'd have to be in the dark. I'd puke. I'd be in not never ending sleep. I'd have to have the back vibrator on my head because if I took Motrin for a hormone headache, I'd puke it back up. So there's no point. As we're massaging the back vibrator, being in darkness, and draining my neck every night. Yeah, you basically become a coma patient every time you have a migraine. And it sucks. You lose, it's like a day you cannot get back. I got tired of having whole days dedicated to being sick. I mean, to an extent, like at one point I was having them twice a month. And I don't know any job out there that would let you be sick 2 days a month. But yeah, so you get one of those stiffer, like neck pillows. Mine has a plastic tube going through it that's hard. So it really, yeah, just look into lymphedema and neck massages. Because if you start even just in the daytime massaging your neck at all, give it 2 or 3 hours to react. And I think we just need to be more patient with our bodies, or just make the fluids go where they need to go. Because when it comes to anything related to the lymphatic system of the human body, it's one of the least researched in medical history. They're so busy researching pharmaceuticals that they're not looking at the physical. Now, this is beyond getting just massages, which are always a good idea, but when there's a bottleneck in your body or other sicknesses or whatever don't allow other parts of the body to act normally or with enough activity, it shuts off the get your juice. So if you ever just lay completely flat in bed and just play with muscles and make sure you're well hydrated before you do it. Oh, you don't, no, you can't massage those out. I call them Charlie horses all over my body. No, no, no. You just got to be very, very hydrated and you let them have it. No, you can't have anybody touch you for that. I mean, people always say that massages fix it. No, you got to figure it on yourself. Mine too. The worst place I ever had a Charlie horse, or that whole gripping and won't let go and does it every 5 minutes and does not stop, was my small intestine. I could have sworn it had tied a knot in my intestine. Well, mine always be when I'm awake, usually, or when I'm driving. All of a sudden, my like right butt cheek will get hard and tight and grip, and will not let the it won't let go. It will not let go, no matter how painful it is. But I do find that having enough salt in my diet, drinking enough water, and remembering to eat enough chills it down a little bit. Because even though I know I look like this, um, I forget to eat all the time. And not having carbs helps too. Um, but yeah, rotating your body and like with every single muscle really helps, especially if you're maneuvering the left side of your body. Weed is very helpful. I agree. I think you can now have up to 3 grams on your person without going to jail in Dallas. Not Fort Worth, but Dallas. I think you just get a summons to go to court, but they won't like arrest you on spot anymore. They're slowly coming down off their high horse. And I read something in the paper about one of these governing bodies have they had to explain to them that it wasn't like hemp wasn't the same thing as this other thing. It's like they're voting on things and they don't even know what it is, literally scientifically. I think San Antonio has some bigger issues going on. But you'd think with all the illegals that they would at least legalize, the safest drug out there versus all the killer drugs that's coming over the border. But yeah, drink up, get all of your. Now, when they say electrolytes, electrolytes are just code name for salt, magnesium, and potassium. Read the ingredients on Gatorade. The only difference is when you take it in pill form, there's no sugar. Cutting out sugar helps a lot. If you have to have anything sweet, go with honey. Honey's really good for your skin. I swear it fixes my knees just as about almost as much as the fish oil does. It helps when I say drain the neck, it just keeps everything lubed up so that when it drains, it has a place to go to. There's a lot of local honey is one of the few things that Texas is really good about producing. And if you get local honey, supposedly if it's supposed to help with local allergies. My favorite one is one made up in Oklahoma because I'm so close to it. It's called Cheat Woods. Tastes a lot like the honeysuckle in New Jersey. Check Facebook. Every once in a while, there is a local person that has like two or three hives and they have extra and then they'll sell it. And I always find them on Facebook. Same for eggs, too. I don't think they're supposed to, but at the same time, it's one of the few things Facebook isn't tattletaling on.